Hello, beautiful group piano teachers. My name is Dorla Aparicio, and I love to come here once a week and talk to you about group piano, but more importantly, to talk with amazing piano teachers that are doing amazing things, especially with group piano. And today I have Leila Viss that is here. Leila, it's such an honor to have you here. I always have to say that I met Leila before she was famous.
And I'm not really famous, but yes, we go way back. We do.
Way back. And and I promised I would show. Yes, because once you wrote this book, it was like, boom, wow, all these things we can do with the iPad and bringing technology and being creative in our studio. So, Leila, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just tell us in general about your studio, about you, and then we'll just chat from there.
Well, thank you, Dorla. I remember those days well when we first met at SMU.
Yep.
And that was a blast from the past when you held up that book. That's funny. And I was teasing you. It was probably in that closet in the back there, right? When you were organizing, you found it.
Yes, but it's dusted off.
Oh, good. That book actually had some cool things in it, like QR codes and all that kind of stuff. And we were talking about it. That still includes, it features apps that I still use today in my studio. And I would say that's what sets my studio apart, is that I've always used technology with my students. And so I don't really teach the Dorla group lessons where there's a number of people here, although I am branching out and doing more of that. But I usually have two people in my studio, and one is working off the bench, doing something on the iPad or worksheets or something, and then one is working on the bench, and then we switch. Right. And so I've had that from day one in my studio. And recently, especially this past year, before COVID, I had kind of thought that I wanted to branch out and do more group lessons. And that stems partially from my time at the University of Denver, where I was the piano prep program coordinator. And all the students came for one private lesson and one group lesson. And believe it or not, they did that. We did that pretty much all in one day. So we had 8 kids in a group. And then because I was mentoring graduate students, then we would divide up all the students and teach them privately, either before or after the group. Now, that was kind of a monstrous task to schedule that, but it was really nice for the kids because we had a performance option. I always made sure we did a performance option, but those group lessons were very, very structured because, of course, I was supposed to be the lead teacher and everybody was supposed to follow what I was doing. So I had to make myself look like I knew what I was doing. So we always did a presentation of a new concept and then following up what we did the week before. And then anticipating something new that was going to happen, kind of like a little tidbit of something to get them prompted and ready to go for the next time. And so those group lessons were really valuable for that reason alone, just because we did so much off-bench stuff and really no on-bench stuff because we didn't have a keyboard lab. And then we moved to a keyboard lab and then we did more keyboard things. Wow. But that gave me did I grow working with 8 kids at a time and mentoring students and watching those graduate students teach group lessons. And then I had to give them feedback, all that kind of stuff. So there's a very long answer to where I am right now. And now I'm trying to bring some of that group back into my studio, especially if I've got beginners. And I think one of the reasons why I always notice signs in myself, like, okay, this beginner lesson is feeling really long. I think it could be more fun. And this gal, I think she really liked me. So she loved the one-on-one with me. But I was always just kind of looking at the time. This could go much faster. So it is really weird how, I got to do more group because I'm not energized by it. So that is your very long answer to what I am doing now. I'm trying to incorporate more groups for beginners.
That is really cool. I love how that experience with the university students it's almost like an ideal place to have group lessons, because you have the teachers that are learning, and then you have the resources right there at the university. So I bet that gave you just amazing ideas of what to do with the groups.
Well, and it let me use a lot of my ideas with the groups because I already had them, because of I did a lot of group lessons before COVID. I would do a hybrid, we do three. When did I have? I bet you I had group lessons once a quarter.
Okay.
Okay. And so I always look forward to those because all private lessons were canceled and it was only group. So my schedule changed, everything changed about it. It was a hassle trying to get everybody to come, but I made it work. And so I had so much fun planning what we were going to do during those groups. So this was right up my alley to bring all my toys over to the university. But the problem is I didn't have a room. I didn't have my own little office. And so I had a locker. And so I had to fit all this stuff in a locker and tote it up to floor 3 and 4. So I did learn my lesson that I would rather probably be more, carry less things around, but I do like my toys and my repurposed items. So.
I love that, your toys.
My toys.
So one of the big things that you do, Leila, is you repurpose stuff. Mm-hmm. And when I see you do that, I'm like, what? Because I'm the queen of let's throw that away because I don't want it. But I never think about, oh, I can use this for teaching theory. So I see on your table there you have, is that like a cup holder?
Yes, I know. I have a big place now. Listen, all 3 boys are grown and left, and so they're the mud room or the shelves that all their stuff was housed are now mine. And so I have taken over and that's where all my toys are. Yes, go ahead.
I think I've seen a video where you show everything, where you have everything.
Yeah, okay, right. So I do confess that, yes, you need storage for all the little fun things I have. But now, how often do we have one of these? I'm like, what could we do with these? We have to be able to do something with these. And so, basically this week, and that's what I do with toys, because people will ask me, okay, where do you do all of these things? And, do you have them all out all the time? No, I do not. I kind of peruse what I have. And right now, this week, I have students working on scales and particularly key signatures. So even if my littles don't know what key signatures are, they're going to learn about sharps and flats and naturals because we're already playing with those. So I kind of have a theme going. And so this is just a drink carrier that has different letter names in it. And then I bounce it on the table and they're holding it and they have to catch it. And then, so for guys, yesterday, my little beginners, they landed on a D. I'm like, how fast can you find a D on the piano?
Okay.
Just something like that. Or for someone older, can you play a D major scale? Or what's the key signature for D major? But so my goal is to always use this. You teach in multi-levels. I'm kind of doing the same thing with whatever I repurpose. Like how many levels can I use this with? And that's important to me.
Yes. I'm here thinking, how can I use that with several students in one class? I could have several of those cup holders and we could have teams and work at it that way. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. And I pulled this out and then all of a sudden it's so fun. I'm teaching my neighborhood kids now, which is a really neat thing. Our neighborhood is kind of re-identifying now. Some of the older people, I'm sorry, have passed away. Nana and Papa live next door. Now Graham, who is now 7, comes over from the house next door. And I got this out and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like right away, they can already anticipate. And I'm really not a gamer. I tend not to be as fun as I look. I don't know, but I'm like, okay, I just want to get to things, like, okay, we'll do a game, and this is really not even a game. It's just more like something interesting. It's novelty. Yeah, I think is what helps, right?
Right. Instead of just repeating something or just explaining something, we put it into action. And I think that's one of the really important things that you've done for piano teachers is making piano learning practical. I remember reading about how when you, after you graduated from, was it college or your master's degree, and then now you have to play in different keys and play by ear, and that was like, what?
Yeah.
It was the same with me. And you have, it's almost like that's one of the purposes of what you're doing now, is to help us piano teachers teach our students to use those theory skills in a practical way.
Amen. You could preach it all day. Because you know what's really neat is that I have one student, she's a senior, which is going to be so sad when she leaves, but I keep telling her, Caitlin, you are the poster child of who I wish I was in high school, because she just auditioned for college. She did a Chopin Nocturne, Beethoven Sonata, and a Bach Sinfonia. And that's, you know, that's not sissy stuff. That is hard stuff. And she kicked it out in a couple of months. She worked really hard. And by the time we recorded her last one, I just had chills. I'm like, you did it, you know, and I was so excited for her. And then she is the star player at a mega church where they have a worship band. And so she's cording along with that, and she absolutely loves it. And if I would have had her skills back then, oh my goodness, life would have been different. You know?
Yes. And you created a course for, is it how to play with a band?
Yes, how to play piano in a band. Yes, and that was with my good colleague and worship leader, Drew Collins. I mean, he knew so much more. He's the garage band musician, right? Coming in with this classically trained musician. And I just remember working with him for the first time. And, you know, I'd watch his hands. Well, what do you do with that chord? You know, and it was just cool how he voiced it just a little differently, all that kind of stuff. But man, did I get schooled on using my ear and listening. And okay, you want me to play that intro that way? Yes. So I got to practice it a million times. So I play just like that. And I just try not to cheat, and I try not to notate it. So I'm really using my ear.
So Leila, when you, I've noticed you compose much more now. Did that start after you started collaborating with him?
You know, maybe it did. I remember that I went to a Mark Hayes workshop. Do you remember Mark Hayes at all?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. Yeah, you probably have books of his, right? And he still kicks things out. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And he unlocked the secret, I think, behind why I am composing and creating, is because he introduced the whole heart and soul pattern to me. And you know how I preach that all the time, like get to know those 4 chords. Well, he was the one that unlocked that, because he was saying, look at this worship song. It's basically the heart and soul pattern. If you need something to improvise, use that pattern. And I was like, bing, okay, well, that makes sense. And so then I started composing, or I did more arranging and stuff. And then I had 3 children and put it all away.
Okay.
But it always was coming to me. And then because I'm a church musician and I play other people's arrangements, they're very good arrangers. I'm very inspired by what they do. I see how creative they get. I think that rubbed off on me enough, like, okay, it's time, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Now that you said arrangers and pianist musicians, we have another musician in common.
Oh, yes, we do.
Alexis French.
And you're going to help me get him on the podcast someday.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could.
I did reach out. I didn't get a response. I got ghosted, but.
So, did you know he's considered like the most, I can't remember what the title was, but in classical music, the most, okay, I'm gonna have to.
I did see what you said, because you mentioned it. They don't know what to do with him. I don't think they know what category to put him in, kind of, right?
He is classically trained, like, yes. But I remember the first time I heard him play, I didn't even know who he was. I just heard the piece and I was like, oh, this is not just your regular pianist figuring stuff out. He has some training, and I even include him now in my piano composer study with my students, because listening to him talk about his music and watching him play in his videos, and he's on every week doing something.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
Well, and don't tell him, but a lot of the ideas that I get, I steal from him. I'm on a walk and I'll listen and like, oh, I love this. What did he do? And I tell him my own. I have composiums where I help people compose, and I encourage them to steal like an artist. So I take his idea, I start playing around with it. Oh, I see. Okay, and then I turn it off, and then I start playing around with it, and it doesn't sound maybe a little bit like his, but not really anymore, because you're original, you're doing something else with it.
Yeah.
But I truly believe in inspiration from others. Ideas do not come from me, they come to me. And somehow his music just transforms.
It's just amazing. It is.
It is.
Yeah. So Leila, this summer, are you going to have the piano camp headquarters again?
Well, of course, Miss Dorla, because your camps will be there as well. I know, and I did a piano camp that was based around how to play piano in a band. So I had students here, and they all know worship songs. And so I asked them, do you know this one by Philip Wickham? And everybody did. So that was the basis of the camp is, okay, everybody's going to learn how to play that piece.
So is that in your store?
No. So that has to be like I know. I think I'm going to add it to the how to play piano band curriculum. It will just be in addition to that. I did take pretty copious notes about what we did every week and all that kind of stuff. But that was so much fun because that was also multi-level. There was different levels. So I practiced, okay, Ethan, do both hands. Scarlett, do just the melody, that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun.
Are you planning to do any group lessons or piano camps this summer, or are you working on other projects?
Well, that is a good question. I want to take the month of June off and do some writing. So here I am saying it out loud live. Let's see if that really happens. But I really would like to do that because I'm working on a book, and it's hard to just open the door, work on it for a little bit and close the door. So you just really need to absorb yourself. So I'm doing that. So my guess is in July and August, I want to keep to my mantra of work smarter and not harder. So I don't think I'm going to look forward to a whole bunch of private lessons. I'd probably rather do a group setting again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thinking about that also. I want to stop teaching during the summer, but I know I need to work in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We need to find a way. I know some teachers have been able to, do projects like Jennifer Fox. She does projects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that that's another thing that we should develop more so that teachers have that option. And the more teachers do it, the more the parents will get used to things being different in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we always say we're going to do this the same like we always do, then the parents get used to that.
Yes.
But if there's enough of us that make a difference, then that'll be good for the teachers to have a break in their teaching, also make money, and train the parents to do something different, don't you think?
Oh, I definitely do. And if you add fun to your group lessons, which I'm sure you do, and kids come out excited, parents are happy, and I do want them to take away things. And now I'm seeing the benefits of it. At first, like, did they catch on to what I wanted them to? And then when they came in back in the fall, I'm like, yes, I think some of those concepts settled in, and that's what I think group lessons are for in the summer, is to work on the gaps in people's understanding of certain things. And it really does sell the parent on it when kids are having fun. And then, two of the moms of this how to play piano in the band, they came in at the last time, and then they saw the kids working and reading from chord charts, and one was drumming along, and they were singing with their kazoos and playing the fills, and they were thrilled and said, we never did that in our piano lessons, Wow. So I think that's the key, is giving them a skill
Mhm.
that parents will value.
Yes, yes, very, very true. So I have to tell you before we end this that those of you teachers that have used musical STEM, that was my first piano camp, and I um, sold it at Leila's store. That's how I got started with selling my music. And the reason I thought about that is because we have a lesson there on dissonance. And so
Okay.
we do an experiment to show what dissonance is, how things collide or make harmony in science or in math or, engineering. But whenever we have dissonance now in any other music, my students will say, Miss Dorla, that's dissonance. They
Oh,
remember.
I love that. And then, you know what? That's concrete learning, right? You gave them a concrete example that made a connection. So good for you. See, you're very much more fun than I am because I just don't think I can do the banana thing. Is it a banana thing? Is that what you do? What do you do?
Well, for the dissonance, it's oil and water, and then oil,
Ooh.
oil.
Oh, maybe
That's,
you could do that one.
yeah, and I have it very controlled because I don't
Yeah.
want to mess. But
I know. That's the problem. Yeah.
the banana piano is a lesson on electricity and new inventions. And that's
Mm.
very easy. It's just that you have to have bananas like every
Yeah.
other day because they
Okay.
get squishy and mushy and you gotta.
Yes. I know. I should do that. I think that would be fun, especially I've got, little ones that are they go to STEM school. So
Yeah,
maybe I got to do a musical STEM, Dorla.
do it. Do it. I
I
think
might just have to do that. I see that's more fun than I usually sign up for, but
it's very easy. Now, Tonara is something that you use a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm curious to hear other group teachers how they use it. I've started using it several times and start and stop, because
Mhm.
my internet is not the best out here in
Okay.
the
Yeah.
rural Texas.
Mhm.
But this week that we're iced in, I started again and it's working really well. And so it got me thinking, and I don't know if you have ideas about this, how we can do our piano camps assignments for the students and then have a time where we just come together for certain things. Um, I don't know how that would work. What do you think about that? Because since you use
Well,
more than I do.
yes, in Tonara, you can create groups, and then within that group, you can have the group chats.
Oh,
And right now, I have composiums. I'm running a composium, and I enter all the assignments in Tonara for
really?
the teachers to access. Now, some of them don't use it, some of them do, because I also email everything. I kind of overdo it. But I went back and forth with this composium because I wanted people to interact with each other or ask questions within a group forum so that if one person has a question, somebody else is going to have one as well. So I love that Tonara chat option. And I really didn't want to open up a Facebook group. I know that's the common place to do it, but there's some people that just aren't into social media. And so that was kind of my safe way to do that. And it also gives, because this composium right now is for teachers, it gives them a sense of what it's like to be on the student side. So that's why I use Tonara. But you can assign a group, or you can assign as many people as you want those same assignments. Now I've assigned certain pieces enough times that it's in my repertoire. Oh, just, add it and it's all there, all that kind of stuff. I really couldn't teach without it anymore. And then I just mentioned in my latest podcast on my favorite things. My favorite thing is that I'm connecting with my students midweek more than I ever did before, because they didn't have a phone, or they didn't have access to their mom or dad's phone. And man, I really value that fact that Miss Leila, you forgot to add this in the assignment, or Miss Leila, what do you do here, or whatever, that's so nice to have that pipeline now.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to use it more.
I think so. And, I have beginners, and I say all your assignments are in there. There's reminder videos in there. You don't have to practice with Tonara, with it on recording your practice, because that's a mom was asking me about that.
Yeah.
And then I had Maddie walk in the door, who Maddie is a star Tonara user. Like, she uses it all the time. She's very dedicated and she's on top of the studio leaderboard. And that is her MO. That is how she functions, you know, and she loves to check the boxes. And so I don't push that on people right away. People kind of grow into it, but some people love it. Some people check it. I say, at least check it once to know what you need to do, and then put it away because their phone is distracting.
Oh, I see.
Something, you know, but it really has opened the door, especially because I still have students that are online only. And then we have that quick communication, quick chats and this and that.
So you only send assignments through Tonara?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
I do have binders because we're stuffing things in there all the time. And I also have clips that we put on everything that they have to practice, because I'm going to hold their hand. What?
The color-coded ones?
The color-coded one, yes. This week it's black and white week, but yes, every week I change it up. And I figure, you know, okay, if they're not going to check Tonara, then I've just given them one more favor, one more reminder. Yes, this is what you're going to do. Because and I could go on and on about how we are teaching them a new habit, right? And this habit's just not going to come right away. Yeah. So I want them to get to the piano first. If they don't get to Tonara, that's okay. Get to the piano. And then if they've got little marks on their books, then they at least know what to practice. And then maybe they'll remember to practice every day, you know, that kind of thing.
I like that. I like that. I remember when you, when I just met you, you were, I don't know if you still do this, but you had different color markers for every different thing.
That's kind of crazy back then. I know. That's the old self. This is the present self who has changed things a little bit. She's making it easy on herself. But I still like to do color coding. And I have two students that come in and say, Miss Leila, what color is it this week? And then they dress in that color.
Oh my goodness. That is precious.
Yeah. And then they're disappointed when I don't follow the color code. But
my goodness, Leila, you're gonna have to step it up.
I know. Listen, I do a lot of things. I throw out a lot of ideas, and I love ideas, but then I think I settle in, and maybe you're the same way, you can't do it all.
You can't do it all. And when I look back, I see all the different things that I was trying, and then you finally figure out what works best, and then you stick with that. So it's good to have all these things going on, and then you just pick and choose what works for you. That's the way we learn.
Yeah. So my hula hoops are downstairs. I'm not using my cups. I'm not using my can carriers, but I am using my drink carrier today. So just limiting yourself this week. Sorry, this is this week's thing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, Leila, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I encourage all teachers, if you haven't already, go ahead and visit Leila's website, leilaviss.com.
You got it. Yes, thank you.
Her shop has tons of different things that we can use in our studio. I used to think that I had everything, but not anymore, because there's so much now.
I know. And, and I think people get overwhelmed by how much. And so that's when you just set limits.
Yep.
And I repurpose versus laminate. I still laminate things. I'm not opposed to laminating, but I just don't want to do a whole bunch of printing and laminating. So if I can come up with something that I don't need to print and laminate, that's kind of my default.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, Leila. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. When we were talking earlier, we are going to be able to see each other face to face this summer. Well, in March at MTNA. So that's going to be exciting. There's several teachers that I know that will be there, so that I'll be able to meet for real. We've met for real years ago.
I know. And we saw each other at one time at an NCKP, I think, right? Yes. I'm trying to schedule something, I think on Sunday during lunchtime. So I think I'm going to put something out on my social media and newsletter. I don't know what. And I'm not the hostess with the mostest, but I'm thinking it would be just fun to okay, let's just go hang,
Yes, do it.
I know.
because I know I'm not planning anything like that, but I'll go to yours.
Okay, yeah. I'm not providing anything other than like, okay, let's meet and then we can decide. Kind of depends on how many people there are. So then we can go from there.
Once again, thank you, Leila. And
Thank you, Darla.
for all the teachers who will, I know there's so many that watch later and or over the weekend, and this has been a blast to talk with you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in March.
All right. And thank you, Dorla. I learned so much from you, and people are lucky to have you around. So thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.